Hey there, this is One Boom, and before this video really gets going, I do need to make it abundantly clear that this is not a full review. I will have a full review of Marvel's Avengers after I've gotten more time in with every character and have finished the campaign. And that's actually kind of convenient because the first thing I'm going to say about Marvel's Avengers is that you should probably wait for a sale. So yeah, my review of the game, my full review of the game will be out before the game probably gets its first ever sale. I can see it getting a nice sale within the next 2 months, and I plan on having my review out within the next 2 weeks. So stay tuned and subscribe for that. I also have some really special news coming soon. So why do I say wait for a sale, and what would be maybe the exception to that claim? The exception to that claim is that you have the money for the game, you have at least 2 other friends that will want to play the game with you, and you're a massive Avengers fan, you're a massive Marvel fan. And then if you're okay with my first impressions and what I say about the game, then that sort of seals the deal, you might be into it. But of course, this video is focusing on the co-op, not the campaign. From what I understand, the campaign is around a 9 to 11 hour story, and I see everybody giving it middle marks, but what a lot of people are going to be buying this game for is the co-op, the grind, the more MMO-light elements of the game, because that's what this is. This is something akin to Anthem, Destiny, Warframe, other games of that sort. Now, if that's a massive turnoff for you, then I guess click away, but I do recommend listening to me for a bit. Because even though it's like those games, it is not exactly those games. But the game has a hub world with some vendors and some factions, and then you get loot, which allows you to upgrade different parts of your character's stats, whether it's deal more damage at the end of a finisher or do cryo damage with a shield throw as Captain America. These little bits of armor just basically are, they're very abundant, and it's very Destiny-like, Division-like. You increase your power level by increasing the levels of all of your gear. So you have a hub world with faction vendors and things, and cosmetic vendors where you can spend in-game currency or real currency, and then you upgrade your shit. You never have to pay real money to get upgrades and stuff. This game is not pay to win at all. All the microtransactions are cosmetic only, so thank God. Anyway, then you go to the war table and you ship off to a mission, and you and up to 3 of your friends, or some random people if you can get matchmaking to work, or 3 AIs if you just want to play solo, you and 3 other characters, people, can go fuck up AIM or whatever. You go punch things, you beat up things, you hit robots, you fight mechs, you fight anything the game tells you to. You go into these sort of expansive, explorable areas that all have a lot of nice visual variety. These aren't procedurally generated as far as I'm aware, and they are nice. I could see them maybe getting boring later, but I'm sure they're going to add more. In fact, this game is a games as a service sort of deal, so I know they're going to add more. They have an entire map that they can add things to, and by map, I mean their whole select a mission thing is just the globe, so it makes sense too. The Avengers are a more global organization. They don't just save New York over and over again, so it makes sense for it to not be an open world. Anyway, you go to these areas and you hit things. You're Captain America, let's say, and you have a shield, and you have an attack button or 2, and then you see a thing over there and it's looking at you funny, and you decide you're fucked, and then that thing's fucked. That's the game. And the objectives are like, hey, stand in this designated area for a certain amount of time, or find the numbers around the map and press the corresponding buttons to open up a vault. You might have to destroy some turbines, you might have to fight a bunch of enemies. It might be super simple, or it might be a little bit longer and a little bit more drag out than you might expect. It all depends on the type of mission you select and what part of the mission chain you're in, so it's definitely replayable, but seeing how I've only been playing it for like 2 days, I don't know how replayable it is. The one thing I can say is that it's explorable, and it's pretty fun to explore. Now, if you're playing as someone like Thor or Iron Man, you could just sort of fly around, or as Hulk, you could just leap around. But if you're playing as someone like Captain America, who's been my main so far, you have to parkour. You have to find ledges and jump off of things and swing off of poles, and I think that's kind of fun. I think that's actually a little bit more interesting than just flying over the map, so I like it, but you might prefer to just play as Iron Man and say, fuck parkour, I can just float there, I'm Tony Stark, I make more money than everyone else, and that's fun. And that's the nice thing about the game, is that these areas are very explorable, they have a lot of visual variety, you can go further than you expect you're going to be able to, and then the nice thing about it is that each hero feels very powerful. This might sound kind of scatterbrained, but it's really just the gist of the game. It might sound like, okay, boom, stick to a thing. I'm pretty much saying the entire thing. This is the whole game that I'm describing here. I'm not picking and choosing and I'm bouncing back and forth. You pick an area, you pick the mission, then you go to the place and you beat up the things and you do the objective, and then the mission's over, you get some loot, you equip it, and this is where the game gets kind of self-aware. There is literally a button that equips your best gear. Now, it doesn't auto-upgrade it, it doesn't tell you what the stats are, because maybe you want to build your Captain America or your Iron Man for a certain type of attack or defense, so maybe, you know, equipping certain pieces of armor might be detrimental to that or just not very helpful. And that should be something you take into account later, but if you don't care about that, you can just collect armor and loot and resources, and then you could just hit the apply all button, dismantle the stuff you don't want, use the resources to upgrade your current pieces, and you can just sort of do it on a mental autopilot. Square Enix didn't know how to hook people with this game, so they went with a sort of generic looter shooter thing, which I'm not a huge fan of, but they were aware enough to know that I wasn't buying the game for that. I bought this game to be Captain America, to be Iron Man, to kick ass as some of my favorite characters of all time. I've been into the Avengers, I've been into Marvel since I was like 8 years old, so this is fun for me. And I don't really care about the looting system. I feel powerful as Captain America because I level up and complete his skill tree. This game has complicated skill trees, and I don't want to spoil that actually. If you buy the game, you can see how complicated the skill trees are. And it's very worth it to grind out characters and level them up a whole bunch. It is by far one of the coolest parts of the game because it's straightforward. You get a bunch of kills, you complete objectives, you get XP, you get a skill point, spend the skill point on the skill you want. And you can feel a noticeable increase in how powerful your hero becomes once you unlock these abilities. The combat stops being block hit, heavy hit. You can do more complicated combos and more interesting maneuvers than you might expect, and that's awesome. That's sort of the gist of my review here, is that it's a very hub world to mission select, to do the mission, go back to the hub world sort of game, and with some min-maxing involved and complicated skill trees and a roster of characters to pick from and fun co-op action where you're, you know, waiting to counter a robot and then suddenly your girlfriend who insists on always playing Iron Man unibeams the fucking enemy right off your screen, and it's fun. It's enjoyable. If you guys have been watching my live streams, it's mostly just me bonking people with Captain America's shield, but I'm having fun while doing it. And I do plan on streaming this game a bit more, up until I'm tired of it, and then maybe I'll, let it go by the wayside if it ends up being a tedious, unreplayable piece of garbage. And we'll have to see. But it is worth noting that Destiny is free, Warframe is free, and they provide similar experiences, they just don't have the word Marvel in front of them. You're not playing as Captain America. You're not playing as Iron Man, so this is worth $60, right? No. Genuinely, the co-op to me feels like it could have been a free-to-play, and here's the thing, if the game was running on all cylinders, I would say it would be a nice $20 to $30 experience, but the game is buggy as balls. And on my Xbox One X, I have to run it in performance mode. I still get frame drops, and it looks a lot uglier than I wish it did. I can't really play this game in 4K mode because it's so choppy and unresponsive. The game's performance sucks donkey dick. It's totally playable, but it makes me feel like I'm still playing the beta that I played back in August. It makes me feel like I'm playing a free-to-play. It doesn't feel finished, doesn't feel like it has that $60 AAA polish. Like, the mechanics are there, the combat's there, the gameplay loop is done to death, but it's there. It just doesn't work right. And during my live stream tonight, I wasn't recording any of it, but I was able to phase through doors. My girlfriend and I had trouble collecting health packs occasionally. It just sort of was dying. My girlfriend also just fell through the floor at one point. That's funny. It's not, again, unplayable, but it's clearly unpolished. It could have used another 2 or 3 months. This game should have probably released in December, not September. And I don't like spending $60 and then spinning around in my office chair thinking, okay, hopefully this game gets a patch soon, because it needed a patch before it came out. And also, It came out days earlier for the deluxe edition owners, so I was hoping there'd be a big patch before the main launch, but that didn't happen either. So that's why I'm saying wait for a sale, is because the gameplay itself is $20, $30 worth of content, maybe even $40 if you're a massive Marvel fan with friends that are really excited to play it with you. But what makes it hard to say that is that the game doesn't feel finished. Not in terms of content, but it doesn't feel finished in terms of software. It doesn't look like it's running properly. Not even like it's supposed to. I used to think, and by used to I mean yesterday I was saying, I think it was made for the Series X and PS5, so we're kind of playing a last gen version, but it's so buggy that completely blows that idea out of the water. It's not just like, oh, the frame rate chugs and it can't get the right resolution. It's just fucking dying trying to do simple things sometimes. Again, not unplayable, just distracting as hell. So my first impressions of Marvel's Avengers co-op is that it is fun, it is dumb fun. It goes more towards dumb than fun, but it is dumb fun. There is nothing wrong with it as a product. It might not be what you were hoping for. It's definitely not what I was hoping for when I knew that Square Enix was making an Avengers game, or Crystal Dynamics was making it, Square Enix was publishing an Avengers game. I was not expecting a sort of MMO light looter shooter co-op game, but at the same time, I'm happy with it. To a degree, it's fun. I'm just sort of waiting for it to get better. It can't stay in this state for longer than a month, because if it does, it will die. People will be sick of falling through the map and not being able to collect health pickups and the frame rate dropping because, my god, they smashed a window. So, yeah. Again, mechanically in gameplay loop, it's fine. It's simple here, kind of complex here, more explorable than I imagined it would be, as I predicted it would be, and that's really cool. But I would say wait for a sale, and if you trust my judgment on video games at all, you should probably wait for my full review after I've played through the campaign and given every character a long run for their money. That way I can give you a detailed review. I see a lot of YouTubers pumping out reviews when they've been playing the game for 20 hours. I want to give it several days before I say anything about it. I want my review to be detailed, and right now in this game's current state, my detailed review is hold off on buying until it's fixed unless you have friends and a huge boner for Marvel. Either way, to make your boner look nicer, go to manscaped.com and use code ONEBOOM for 20% off plus free shipping. If you made it to this point in the video, comment Avengers Assemble. See you when I see you. Goodbye.